Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. As everyone is joining, I just want to call your attention to the slide. We are recording this webinar so that we can share it with people who couldn't make it today and possibly post it on our IFSA website and our YouTube channel as well. So we have turned all of your cameras off. Please keep them off for the remainder of the webinar just to protect your privacy. Thanks, everyone. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to IFSA Study in Sri Lanka. But this is meant more for students interested in joining us for fall 2026 and beyond. But this is a gem of a study abroad program in a really unique location. So we are going to talk through, next slide, please. Perfect. We're going to talk through several different topics today. So on the agenda, you'll meet our team. So I'm going to introduce our amazing Sri Lanka team. We'll talk a little bit about our program location. We'll talk through some program specifics and what to expect on an IFSA program, as well as academics. And we'll talk through the student experience, including a little bit about our homestay, cultural activities, and excursions that you get on the program, as well as health and safety, financial aid, a little bit about the application process and visas, and then we will have time at the end for a Q&A. So to start, let's meet our Sri Lanka team. None of these three could be with us on the call, but they are fantastic and excited to welcome students to Sri Lanka in the future. We have Diana Arizaga, our Global Director of Operations for Sri Lanka. We have Tilak Jayatalaki, our Associate Director for the Sri Lanka program. Tilak is on site in Sri Lanka, so students get to know him quite well. We have Tanya Gonzalez. Tanya is the Global Health, Safety, and Wellbeing Manager for our region. So Tanya will provide support for students heading to Sri Lanka in all things health, safety, and well-being. So if students have questions about medications or need to make appointments for continuing care while they're abroad, Tanya is going to make sure they have what they need. And then if you haven't met me yet, my name is Brittany Brooks. I am the enrollment counselor for our Sri Lanka programs. So I will work with students from when they open an application with us for the program until they depart for site. So they can make one-on-one appointments with me. I'll help with application logistics, pre-arrival, visas, flights, and everything that they'll need to have a successful semester in Sri Lanka. Also on the call with me are two other people I want to introduce. We have Emma Lynch. Emma is our student engagement manager for our region, and she also helps provide support and works with students during application and pre-arrival phases. And we also have Eric Tarbell on the call with us. Eric is part of our institutional engagement team, working with our homeschool partners, and in his portfolio are many of our schools who approved to send students to Sri Lanka. So you'll hear from both of them a little bit later on in the presentation. Thank you both for being here. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our program location. So our IFSA program takes place in Kandy, Sri Lanka. One thing to note is that IFSA is currently the only study abroad provider for undergraduate students in Sri Lanka. Kandy is the second largest city in Sri Lanka. Its population is about 1.5 million people. It is the former royal capital of Sri Lanka, so there's a ton of history there, and it is home to the famous Temple of the Tooth Relic, which is a Buddhist temple. The city itself, it's the largest city in central Sri Lanka. It's set on a plateau, so it's surrounded by mountains, tea plantations, biodiverse rainforest. So it's a beautiful location, and it is home to several UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So it is a beautiful feedback on the city is that it's a little bit more low-key and laid back than you get in Colombo, which is Sri Lanka's biggest city. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in Candy is our IFSA Center. So this is a picture of it. This is kind of the hub. This is where TLOC's offices are. Students may have classes here. There are classrooms, but it is a 20-minute walk from our partner university classrooms. And then our students are placed in homestays no more than 2 miles or so from the center. So it's, central to where our students are and they can access it easily. All right, so now we have a video from our Associate Director, T-Lock, and he is just going to greet everyone and provide a little bit more information about life and culture and our program locations in Sri Lanka.
Aybowan, my name is Tilak Jayatilaka, the Associate Director of the IFSA Sri Lanka program. I am glad to say that this is the oldest study abroad program in Sri Lanka affiliated to the University of Peradeniya since its beginning in 1983. I would like to tell you little bit about Sri Lankan culture, food and the modes of transportation briefly. Sri Lanka is an island nation with great cultural diversity. Ethnicity and religion pervade many aspects of life and constitute the basic elements of this diversity. Four of the world's major religions are being practiced in the country. Buddhism is practiced by the majority of Sri Lankans, predominantly the Sinhalese. Hinduism is practiced by the Tamils, while Islam is followed by the Muslims and Malay communities. Christianity, the religion of colonizers, is practiced by the Burgher population and some Sinhala and Tamil families that converted to the Christianity during colonial period. These religious communities coexist peacefully and there is blurring of religious demarcation when it comes to Buddhist and Hindu temples, mosques and churches with their own colorful rituals are the most distinguishing attribute of the cultural landscape. In contrast to many other Asian destinations, this vibrant blend of cultural diversity is compacted into 65,610 square kilometers in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's culinary art is testimony to its cultural diversity, with each community adding their twist to local cuisine and making it as varied as it is rich. Sri Lankan cuisine is highly centered around many varieties of rice, vegetables, fruits, as well as coconut, which is a commonly available crop throughout the country. Seafood also plays a significant role in the cuisine. As a country that was a hub in the historic Oceanic Silk Road, contact with foreign traders brought new food items and cultural influences in addition to the local traditions of the country's ethnic groups. Sri Lankan food today a reflection of the country's colonial past from the Portuguese, Dutch and British periods in addition to the traditions brought in by the Arab and Indian traders. Land-based train and bus services are the principal modes of public transport in the country. These services are provided by the state-run transport board and privately owned buses. Apart from that, there are cab, taxi and three-wheeler services run by companies like Uber and PickMe, which are easily accessible from a smartphone. These new services have significantly enhanced convenience and accessibility for commuters. When choosing a method of transport for international students in the university, it is better to hire a three-wheeler that can share the ride with a friend. Students can use bicycle or scooters around the campus. And the university also offers shuttle services. We are all here committed to make students' life as fascinating as possible, with various activities ranging from on-campus to off-campus initiatives, including site visits, field trips, excursions, and other extracurricular activities. So students never run short of what to do during their stay in Sri Lanka. We hope you would decide to be a IFSA student and study here in the University of Peradeniya. We will make sure that you have a memorable study abroad experience that will definitely help you to accomplish your career expectation and academic goals as well.
All
Looking
right,
forward to meeting you all in coming semesters.
we can go ahead and stop it. Thank you. Perfect. All right, I think I'm turning it over to Eric now for the next slide. Yes.
Thank you, Brittany. And welcome, everyone. Glad to see you all here. So I'll just talk a little bit about some of the things that are included when students participate on IFSA programs. For one, housing is guaranteed, and we always vet our housing for safety and quality. In Sri Lanka in particular, I believe it's a homestay, and Brittany will share more details about that in a little bit. For academics, the program fees will cover all the tuition costs, but we also provide assistance with course selection, as well as academic advising and support on site. The program in Sri Lanka in particular also provides language courses and a great experiential learning opportunity with a directed research course. And all students will receive a transcript from our U.S. School of Record, Butler University, so that makes transferring credits back to your home institution quite easy. And there's no extra charge for that. Also, health, safety, and security is our number one priority. So all students are covered by our health and travel insurance. And we have a dedicated health, safety, and wellness team with a regional manager with expertise in Asia. We also have on-site staff that will provide local guidance as well as 24/7 support. Then we have also excursions and culture activities. Those are included in the program fees at no extra charge. They're coordinated by on-site staff, so it makes it convenient. It's a great way to experience the local culture, but we also curate them to provide some additional local context and opportunities to reflect on your experience engaging with the culture. We also provide pre-departure support. There's no application fees. And we have our great student enrollment counselor team that provides appreciative advising on both the program and the academics. As well, we also provide pre-departure support with visas, with housing, with course enrollments, and we have also pre-departure orientations. And then on-site, we have optional airport pickup in many locations. We have on-site orientation with local tips. We have full-time staff, and we also have check-in meetings, throughout the semester. And we also provide some funding as a nonprofit. We do put a lot of funding back into scholarships and grants to provide more access to students. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. You also should be able to, most schools, students can take their financial aid with them to help cover the costs. We also have payment plans for students, as well as an upfront advance program if students need some funding while they're waiting to get their financial aid. And this down in the bottom right, it talks a little bit about details at a glance. This is pulled from the website. The application deadline for the Sri Lanka program is April 15th. And yeah, we'll hear a lot more about all these details as we go along. So next slide, please. So roadmap for learning. So this is our framework that serves one of our 4 primary commitments as a nonprofit mission-driven institution. And for this one, it really speaks to our commitment to individualized learning. I know a lot of students, you're going on a program with a group, but we really, try and work with each student individually to get to know the students and what your goals are academically, personally, and professionally. So our enrollment counselors are trained in appreciative advising. They really take the time to get to know everybody individually and help match them up with a program that's going to be the best fit for them. And then the framework also helps students kind of set their goals for their study abroad experience and think about the steps they're going to take to achieve those goals. And we also support that as well. So our on-site staff will review their goals and help identify some local opportunities for them to accomplish their goals while they're on the program. In addition, this is something that can be changed. So if once they're on site, if they have new goals, we will, work with each student individually to help them make the most of their experience. And we'll move on to the next slide. So who is this program for? In particular, this program, it's great for a number of different disciplines, in particular for biology and ecology students, students interested in environmental studies or environmental science, anthropology as well, religious studies. It offers a great opportunity for students that are interested in conducting research, or if students want to have some experience working with non-governmental organizations. It's also a great experience if students are interested in the future in applying for a Fulbright scholarship. It's a great thing you can put on your application to help with your application to get the Fulbright. And I would say most importantly, the Sri Lanka program offers an amazing opportunity for really deep cultural immersion. I myself, I haven't been to Sri Lanka, but I have traveled for about 6 weeks in nearby India, and I can hands down say it was one of the most interesting countries I've ever visited. So next slide. And I think I will pass this now to Emma.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so I want to get into academics a little bit. We'd like to be able to tell students a little bit about how academics may differ in their country that they are visiting. And so it's always a new country, new way of learning for our students. So when you are studying in Sri Lanka, most classes are going to be lecture oriented, but there's a good balance between your academic work and your real world experiences. So as Eric was mentioning, that deep cultural immersion is key. So you will be able to kind of contribute to your classroom experience with what you are learning on the outside as well. So the co-curricular and class discussions will meld together well. We do recommend taking a language if possible, so Sinhala or Tamil language. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. And then matching with a learning partner. This is key. This is a local university student. We've had this for the program for several years. An exceptional opportunity to be able to get acclimated with Sri Lankan culture, but also be able to learn customs and get help with the language, get acclimated with your host family. This is really a great way to do some intercultural exchange with a student at the local university. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment as well. And then you will have access to resources in the main university library, as well as the IFSA Program Center. So there is a library located in there as well. And then IFSA staff and faculty are available for support and individual help with academics, with whatever is needed at the time. So if we go to our next slide, we can talk through course options. So this is a list of our previous course options. And you can see that we do have quite a few here. We are in development, but we have consolidated to a single unified program. And you can see this list is kind of a streamlined interdisciplinary list to really emphasize a cohesive curriculum. And while we're kind of relaunching our Sri Lanka program, we want this to be accessible to support a smaller cohort during this time. Research remains central to this program. So although we do have one Sri Lanka program that is 16 weeks, research remains an elective that students can take. So you can research with faculty experts, you can develop your own topic with the guidance of a faculty mentor, and that will only look wonderful on your resume, but also build those sharp skills with communication, comprehensive research, analysis, and your written and oral skills. So we'll talk about kind of what different topics students have come up with in the past for this research objective. But this is what we are looking at for the future and what has been offered in the past. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We can take a look at past research topics. These are so innovative and so interesting, and it really shows you the meld of culture and really being immersed in the Sri Lankan culture, because these are all not just academic topics, but academic topics that are really melded with the Sri Lankan perspective and with all different kinds of mindsets involved. So take a look at those. The sky is the limit in terms of what to pick as a research topic, but know that this is still an option and research remains central to our plan of study if the student desires to do that. Next, we'll talk a little bit more about learning partners. Again, this is a one-on-one experience with a local university student. They will meet in person at IFSA orientation, so it really starts from the very beginning, right when they set foot on the ground, and it's consistent meetings throughout the term. So even if they feel like they've got it all together after the first few weeks, it's really helpful to still have that person to lean on and help that person can be your liaison again between local host families within the community. They can help with traditions and celebrations and really help the student acclimate. And then of course getting to know different cultural experiences around the city and around Sri Lanka is very helpful. So Learning Partners is definitely recommended and is a wonderful addition to this cultural experience in Sri Lanka. I'm going to pass it back to Brittany now.
Thanks, Emma. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the student experience, and that will start with housing. So, of course, that is a big question that students have. Where am I going to live while I'm studying here? And Sri Lanka is a unique opportunity in that students are placed in a homestay. So they will have a single bedroom in a homestay with a local family. They will get 3 meals a day plus snacks included in that. We work hard to put students as close as we can to the IFSA Center and the university. So the furthest distance is usually about a 10 to 15 minutes away by tuk-tuk for students. TLOC has a very strong network of experienced host families. Many of them have been doing this from the beginning of the program, so a while, and they're all very excited to bring more students in and host them through their semester. We will have a preference form for students to fill out. This happens pre-arrival, so they'll include things like religious preferences, dietary needs, allergies, all those things. We encourage students to be quite thorough in this so that our on-site staff can place them with the best possible homestay for them and for their needs. So it's a really cool opportunity for our students to get connected to daily life in Sri Lanka, to experience that through the lens of a family. Next slide, please. Thank you. So IFSA excursions. So also included in the IFSA Sri Lanka program are excursions and activities included in the total program costs. And so these are 3 of the bigger excursions that students have gotten in the past. So they got to visit the Horton Plains National Park, which is a national park full of grassland and cloud forest habitats. It's really well known for its biodiversity, particularly birds, amphibians, and woody plants. So students get to explore that and got to take a hike. We did take students in the past as well to a Hindu temple to introduce them to that aspect of Sri Lankan culture. So they got kind of to dive into Hindu art and culture including their religious, cultural, and social practices as well. And then their big overnight excursion. So one of the excursions is always going to be overnight. And in the past, they got to go visit the first kingdom of Sri Lanka. So it's a well-preserved complex of ruins. It was their ancient capital. It's also a World Heritage Site, and it's also known to be a sustainability site with their canals and their hydro system. So students get to kind of experience all this, learn a lot about Sri Lanka's history, and experience something quite unique. So our excursions are always designed to give students a deep dive into the culture and allow them to do something that they might not be able to do on their own, if not through IFSA. Next slide, please. So activities. So in addition to the excursions, students will have activities throughout the semester that they can do. One is called City as Text. This is something popular that we do throughout multiple programs through IFSA as well. It's really allowing students to view their city through a different lens. So students explore Kandy with a local Sri Lankan student. So they bring those learning partners that Emma talked about, and they approach the city as if they're reading a literary text. And so they'll walk and reflect on the city's culture, the lived experiences of its residents, through things like mapping, observing architecture, commercial activities, and more. So it's a popular activity and just encourages students to dig a little deeper into Kandy and their host city and reflect on how it works and the people who live there. We also have sent students to the Hentana Mountains. This is an environmental protection area. It's very close to the university. The highest height, it's 3,800 feet, and students have hiked with university staff and other students and learn about the Conservation Society's efforts to protect that area in the face of a lot of urban development that's happening nearby. They've also gotten to visit the women's shelter. So it's the first of its kind. It's the largest one for crisis intervention and the first shelter for women in Kandy. So students got to visit and learn from administrators and hear what they're doing to protect that group of their citizens in the country. So they also got to visit the Buddhist Meditation Center and participate in a meditation retreat, as well as experience Kandian dance. So this is a style of folk dance that originated in Kandy, and it has since spread across Sri Lanka, but it's really popular and beautiful, and students may get to perform it themselves, but if dancing is not their forte, they'll at least get to see it performed. So again, a lot of really neat activities that are designed to help students plug into their host country and host city and really learn more about it culturally through different lenses, including public health and the arts, and on a lot of different lenses. So really cool opportunities for students to get involved. Next slide, please. All right, and then I believe that Tilak talked a little bit about this in that video already, but another common question that students ask is transportation. So how do they get around their host city? So Sri Lanka has really everything. It has buses, cabs, Uber is there, so rideshare is possible. Students ask that a lot. Trains and tuk-tuks. So tuk-tuk is a little bit probably new for students coming on the program, but it is very shareable, affordable, and easily accessible. So a lot of times our students find themselves utilizing tuk-tuks quite often. And then, of course, like some students will get bicycles to get around as well. But they'll learn more about this as well in pre-arrival newsletters and our pre-arrival webinars and on-site for orientation too. Next slide, please. All right, I believe I'm sending it back to Emma to talk about health and safety.
Thanks, Brittany. Yeah, just to touch on a little bit of what Eric was discussing that is included in all of our IFSA programs. We have a stellar health, safety, and well-being team regionally. So this is experienced student support whenever you need it. So 24/7 support, crisis line available as well. We do offer comprehensive insurance, our CISI that you can read about on our website. We have a great tool, Alert Media, that we get students signed up before they are on site to make sure that they are reachable during any sort of crisis situation. And so again, we have regional supports for students to reach out to. So anything from academic accommodations, prescription management, mental health questions, primary care. How do I get my medication past the 3-month mark, things like that. So any kind of question like this can be answered pre-arrival, and then of course still support on the ground while students are abroad. So students can email hsw@ifsa-butler.org and set up pre-arrival conversations with us and our HSW team for questions. Next slide, please. I'll kick it back to Eric.
Thanks, Emma. And as a nonprofit, we do offer quite a bit of funding to help students make the most of their experience on our study abroad programs. If students are attending a state school, a public state school in the US, or a minority serving institution, they will automatically receive a grant. There's nothing they need to do to apply. It just will automatically be discounted off the program fees. But we also offer quite a number of other scholarships and grants. The application deadline I want to highlight for students that are interested in fall 2026 programs is April 1st is the final deadline. There is also a priority deadline earlier. But just to highlight a few of the different grants and scholarships we offer, in addition to need-based grants, we also offer a first-generation scholarship up to $2,500 for a semester. We also have a great Gilman International scholarship, a matching scholarship. The great thing about that one is you don't necessarily need to receive or be awarded the Gilman Scholarship. You just need to show us that you are a qualified applicant for the Gilman Scholarship, and you can receive funding from us as well, up to $2,500 for a semester. And then another really great one for students, we have an IFSA Student Marketing Correspondent Program. And this is a great one. You can get a $1,000 stipend while you're on the program for sharing your experience on the program through social media or writing a blog. We've got some great student stories on our website. You can see examples of past marketing correspondence. And that stipend you would be awarded after you arrive on the program on site, so you can really make the most of your experience engaging with the culture while you're on the program. And next slide, please. In addition, we are closely collaborating with a number of our key partner sending institutions on how to redevelop this Sri Lanka program and ensure it's a successful program going forward. And so we are really thinking and working with our partners, our study abroad staff, as well as faculty to kind of reimagine the program so that it best serves students at our partner sending institutions. And with that in mind, we also are collaborating with each one to think about if there's some additional funding that we can provide that would benefit students and align with the financial aid offerings that are already provided at each institution. So there's nothing that students would need to do, but if you are attending one of these development partner institutions, we will be following up with some additional information if there's additional funding that will be provided for students at your institution. And next slide. And I think I'm passing it back to Brittany.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Yeah, so a few more things to chat about, mostly with the application process and visas. So students often ask, do I need a visa for this program? So yes, students will have to have a student visa to enter Sri Lanka, and it can be quite a complex process, but we will provide support and advising throughout the whole thing. So heads up on the costs. Right now, it can range from 130 to 266 US. So students can expect something in that range. But that being said, the visa process is subject to change. Policies often change, but we will make sure that students are given up-to-date information. We'll let them know exactly what documents they'll need. Some of the documents will be provided by IFSA, and then they'll have to fill out their visa application, and we'll let them know exactly what to gather and what to send to the consulate. So hopefully it will be as easy a process as possible, and I'll be there to support and walk students through it. Next slide, please. Application process. So I think everyone should know the GPA requirement already, but there are only a few things needed to apply. So it's a pretty straightforward process on IFSA's end. Students will just need to provide their passport. So scan an image in. You'll need your unofficial transcript. So we don't even need an official transcript, which is a little easier. But just make sure that an unofficial transcript has your cumulative GPA, as well as all the classes you've taken on your college career so far for every semester. Students who decide to do the research class and take advantage of that opportunity, they'll need to provide a resume and then a field component intent form. And that form is just for you to discuss your goals and what you're thinking about for your research project. We also have a class selection form. So students will rank the classes that we are offering that semester in order of preference. And then we also will have program approval. So this comes from the home institution. So it's very important that students work with their home institution and make sure that you do everything that's required on their end. And they will log into an advisor portal through IFSA and confirm with us that you are good to go and that you've done everything needed. For that program approval, we don't need it to submit your application, but we will need it to be completed to release an admissions decision for you. Next slide, please. Application deadlines. So you've been told this before, but for fall it is April 15th. But it's really important to note that your home school will have its own deadline, and it's possibly going to be earlier than IFSA in April. I know some schools might even have deadlines this fall for fall 2026. So it's super important that you talk with your study abroad office at your home school. You're aware of what their deadline is, and you make sure you have everything done by their deadline as well, to make sure that you're eligible to do the program. Next slide, please. All right, and to end this webinar, before we start our Q&A, we do have a few testimonials here. I'm not going to read them word for word, but they're just really fun to see because it's students in the past who have been really impacted by their semester in Sri Lanka, and that's something that IFSA strives to do. It's one of our core values, is enduring impact, to provide a study abroad experience that really transcends the semester and impacts students going forward into their future. And a few fun things you can see here. We had one student who was thrilled with their host family and learned a lot more from them than they even felt they learned in the classroom. So that's a really cool experience that you get from the Sri Lanka program. Another student here won the Fulbright in 2020 and credited the Study in Sri Lanka program for helping with that. So as Eric mentioned, if any students have that as a goal, this is a great program to help with that process. And then down below, you'll see that we have a current doctor in Yale School of Medicine who did a directed research project directly related to medical students in Sri Lanka. And then finally, a professor of Buddhist studies and head of the religion program at the University of Otago in New Zealand did our IFSA Sri Lanka program. Back then it was called ISLE, so if that's confusing, it's the same program, just was renamed. But that experience was formative and shaped the way that they lived their life going forward. So always love to see such positive experiences from such a unique and beautiful program for students. All right, so that is it from us. I will ask us to go ahead and stop recording so we can jump into our question and answers. Thanks, everyone.